The unfinished war. The galaxy breathed a collective sigh of relief. After 3 decades of brutal warfare, the Vorthan Empire had finally fallen. The Galactic Confederacy, a loose alliance of 57 spacefaring civilizations, celebrated their hard-won victory across 1,000 worlds. Ships returned to their homeworlds, weapons were decommissioned, and the great war machines fell silent. But in the Outer Rim, on a small blue-green world called Kepler 7 bits, humanity received a different message. Commander Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of Luna Station, Earth's primary defense outpost orbiting their colony world. The encrypted transmission had arrived just hours after the Confederacy's victory announcement. Unlike the triumphant broadcasts flooding the galactic networks, this signal carried something else entirely: coordinates, tactical data, and a single word that made Chen's blood run cold: incomplete. The message had come from an old ally, Ambassador Zektar of the Altarian Republic. Before his species had withdrawn from the war effort, citing unsustainable losses, Zektar had formed an unlikely friendship with humanity's diplomatic corps. Now, his covert warning suggested the Confederacy's celebration was premature. Chen activated her neural interface, connecting directly to Earth's strategic command. Within seconds, Admiral Marcus Webb's weathered face appeared on the holo display. Even across light years, she could see the concern etched in his features. "You've seen the data, Commander." "Yes, sir. The Vorthans still have operational bases in the Nexus cluster. The Confederacy either doesn't know or doesn't care." Webb nodded grimly. "The Senate's already voted to stand down all military operations. They're calling it the Great Peace. But if these coordinates are accurate, we can't ignore this. Admiral, Kepler 7 bits is less than 50 parsecs from the Nexus cluster. If the Vorthans regroup, they won't just regroup, Commander. They'll want revenge, and humanity's colonies will be their first targets." Chen understood the implications. While the major powers celebrated, confident in their victory, Earth faced a choice: respect the Confederacy's premature peace declaration, or act unilaterally to finish what others had started. Within hours, humanity made its decision. Deep in the Sol system's asteroid belt, hidden construction yards came alive. For years, Earth had been building something special, not the massive dreadnoughts favored by the Confederacy, but sleek, deadly vessels designed for precision strikes. The Ghost Fleet, as it was known only to a select few, represented humanity's unique approach to warfare: surgical, efficient, and utterly ruthless when necessary. Captain David Kim commanded the lead vessel, Shadow Strike. As his crew ran through final preparations, he reviewed the mission parameters. 30 ships, each equipped with advanced stealth technology that made them virtually undetectable. Their destination: the Nexus cluster, where intelligence suggested the Vorthan remnants were gathering. "All systems green, Captain," reported Lieutenant Mayapedal from the navigation console. "Jump drives charged and ready." Kim nodded, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. "Signal the fleet. We jump in 10 minutes." Across the Ghost Fleet, similar preparations were underway. In the armory of the Silent Fury, Master Sergeant Thomas Wright checked his squad's equipment one final time. Enhanced combat armor, plasma rifles, and enough firepower to level a small city. They'd trained for this moment, though none had expected it to come so soon after the Confederacy's supposed victory. The fleet jumped as one, entering hyperspace with barely a ripple in the cosmic fabric. Their stealth systems engaged automatically, rendering them invisible to conventional sensors. As they traveled through the twisted dimensions of hyperspace, Commander Chen coordinated with ground forces from her position aboard the flagship Revenant. 3 days later, they emerged at the edge of the Nexus cluster. What they found confirmed their worst fears. The Vorthan forces hadn't just survived, they were rebuilding. Massive shipyards, hidden within the cluster's dense nebula, churned out new vessels. Defense platforms bristled with weapons. And at the heart of it all, a fortress station that dwarfed anything in the Confederacy's arsenal. "My God," whispered Chen, studying the sensor data. They're not planning to hide. They're planning to strike back. The human fleet held position, their stealth systems keeping them hidden while they gathered intelligence. What they discovered over the next 48 hours painted a chilling picture. The Vorthans weren't just rebuilding their military. They were constructing something far more sinister. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the fleet's chief science officer, identified it first. Those aren't just communication arrays they're building. Look at the quantum resonance patterns. They're designed to interface directly with neural pathways. Mind control, Chen asked, though she already suspected the answer. On a galactic scale, if they complete this network, they could potentially influence billions of sentients across dozens of worlds. The Confederacy celebrates while the Vorthans prepare to enslave them all. The revelation changed everything. This wasn't just about eliminating a military threat. It was about preventing the subjugation of the entire galaxy. And humanity, the relative newcomers to the galactic stage, were the only ones who knew about it. Chen made the call. All ships, prepare for combat operations. We're going in. But as the Ghost Fleet began its approach, they detected something unexpected. A small Vorthan patrol ship, damaged and drifting, transmitted a weak distress signal. Against protocol, Kim ordered the Shadow Strike to investigate. What they found aboard changed their understanding of the enemy. The Vorthan crew was dead, but their computer systems remained partially active. Security Chief Lieutenant James Rodriguez led the boarding team, carefully extracting data from the damaged systems. What he found sent chills down his spine. "Commander, you need to see this," Rodriguez reported. "The Vorthans, they're not united. There's a resistance movement within their own ranks. This ship was trying to defect." The recovered data revealed a schism within Vorthan society. While the military leadership pushed for revenge and galactic domination, a significant portion of their population wanted peace. The mind control network wasn't just meant for other species. It was designed to ensure absolute loyalty among the Vorthans themselves. This discovery forced humanity to reconsider their approach. They couldn't simply destroy everything in the cluster. Innocent Vorthans would die alongside the warmongers. They needed a surgical strike, targeting only the military leadership and their doomsday weapon. Ken convened an emergency strategy session. "We need to split our forces. Half the fleet will engage the shipyards and defense platforms, creating a distraction. The other half will infiltrate the fortress station and disable the mind control network." "It's risky," Kim pointed out. "We'll be outnumbered 10-1 in direct combat. Then we don't fight directly. We use what makes us human: adaptability, unconventional tactics, and the element of surprise." As the human fleet prepared for the most critical battle in their species' history, they received an unexpected transmission. It was weak, barely detectable even by their advanced sensors, but the message was clear. "Unknown vessels, this is Vorthak, leader of the Vorthan Liberation Front. We know you're out there. We've been monitoring your approach. If you've come to finish what the Confederacy started, know this: not all Vorthans seek war. Some of us want peace. Some of us want freedom. Will you help us achieve it?" The transmission ended with coordinates, a location deep within the asteroid field surrounding the fortress station. Chen faced a decision that would determine not just the outcome of their mission, but potentially the future of human-Vorthan relations. "Set course for those coordinates," she ordered. "But keep weapons charged. This could be a trap." As the Revenant altered course, the rest of the Ghost Fleet moved into position. The shipyards and defense platforms remained unaware of their presence, their sensors unable to penetrate the human stealth technology. In a matter of hours, humanity would strike. But first, they had a meeting with destiny in the cold depths of the asteroid field. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and humanity, the species everyone had overlooked, had underestimated, stood ready to tip the scales. They hadn't asked for this responsibility, but they wouldn't shrink from it. The Confederacy might have declared the war over, but humanity knew better. The real battle was just beginning. The final strike. The asteroid field stretched before them like a graveyard of ancient gods, massive chunks of rock and ice tumbling slowly through the void. Commander Chen guided the Revenant through the treacherous passage, her ship's advanced sensors mapping safe routes while maintaining stealth protocols. Somewhere in this cosmic debris field, Vorthan rebels waited, potential allies or elaborate trap. "Contact ahead," reported Sensor Officer Lieutenant Nakamura. Single vessel, Vorthan design, but heavily modified. They're broadcasting on the agreed frequency. Chen studied the tactical display. The ship appeared genuine, its weapons powered down and shields lowered, a sign of peaceful intent or dangerous vulnerability. Maintain distance. Open communications channel. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a Vorthan unlike any in the Confederacy's databases, where typical Vorthans displayed the ritualistic battle scars and military insignia of their warrior culture. This one bore none. Vorthak's chitinous features somehow conveyed weariness, despite the alien physiology. "Commander Chen," Vorthak spoke, his translated voice carrying surprising warmth. "Thank you for responding. I feared you would simply attack like the others. The Confederacy declared victory. Why should we be here at all?" Vorthak's four arms gestured in what Chen had learned was equivalent to a bitter laugh. "Victory. They destroyed our homeworld's defenses, shattered our main fleet, but they didn't understand our culture, our determination. The military leadership retreated here, to the Nexus cluster, bringing their most terrible weapon. The mind control network. We know about it." Surprise flickered across Vorthak's features. Then you understand the danger. Supreme Commander Krixar plans to activate the network within the next rotation. Once operational, every Vorthan, military or civilian, will become an extension of his will. And after that, the rest of the galaxy, Chen finished. "Precisely. But we can stop this. The Liberation Front has infiltrated the fortress station. We know the network's vulnerabilities, but we lack the military strength to exploit them." Chen weighed her options. Trust was a luxury in war, but sometimes necessity demanded leaps of faith. "What do you propose?" Vorthak transmitted detailed schematics of the fortress station's interior. "The network requires 3 primary control nodes to function. Destroy them, and the entire system collapses. But they're heavily defended, and Krixar's elite guard protects the central command chamber. Your people inside, can they help? They await our signal. When you attack, they'll sabotage internal defenses and guide your forces to the targets." Vorthak leaned forward, desperation creeping into his voice. "Commander, I know trust between our species is impossible after all that's happened. But if we don't act together now, both our peoples face slavery or extinction." Chen made her decision. "Transmit your people's positions and identification codes. We strike in 2 hours." The plan took shape quickly. Half the Ghost Fleet, led by Captain Kim, would assault the shipyards, a violent, attention-grabbing offensive designed to draw Vorthan forces away from the fortress. Meanwhile, Chen would lead a surgical strike directly into the station's heart. As preparations continued, Master Sergeant Wright briefed his assault teams in the Revenant's hangar bay. Holographic displays showed their objectives. 3 control nodes scattered across the station's multiple levels. "Remember," Wright emphasized, "we're not just fighting Vorthans today. According to our new allies, many of the station personnel are essentially prisoners, coerced into service. Check your targets. Watch for Liberation Front signals." Questions. Private Martinez raised her hand. "Sarge, how do we know this isn't an elaborate trap?" Wright's scared face remained impassive. "We don't. But if we do nothing, billions could end up enslaved. That's a risk worth taking." The assault began precisely at 800 hours, station time. Captain Kim's strike force dropped out of hyperspace firing, their stealth systems disengaging as weapons charge. The Vorthan shipyards, caught completely off guard, scrambled to respond. Defensive platforms swiveled toward the threat as alarm klaxons echoed through the nebula. All ships, attack pattern Delta. Kim commanded. Target their construction base first. Deny them reinforcements. The Shadow Strike led the charge, its experimental railguns punching through armor plating like tissue paper. Vorthan fighters launched in desperate waves, only to meet precisely coordinated human fire patterns. The Ghost Fleet carved through the opposition with surgical efficiency, each ship's eye-assisted targeting ensuring maximum damage with minimal ammunition expenditure. Meanwhile, Chen's infiltration team approached the fortress station from its blind spot. 3 assault shuttles, their hulls coated in sensor-absorbing materials, slipped through the chaos unnoticed. As they neared the docking ports, Vorthak's promises proved true. Internal defenses remained mysteriously offline. "We're in," Rodriguez reported as his team breached the station's hull. No immediate resistance. Liberation Front signals confirmed throughout the sector. The 3 teams split up, each heading for their designated control node. Wright's squad moved through dimly lit corridors, their helmet displays marking friendly Vorthan positions. It felt surreal, passing armed enemies who simply nodded and pointed toward their objectives. But as they approached the first control node, the trap everyone feared finally sprang. Elite Vorthan shock troops materialized from hidden positions, their plasma weapons cutting down 2 Marines before anyone could react. Wright dove for cover, his mind racing. Either they'd been betrayed, or they're not shooting at the Liberation Front markers. Rodriguez yelled over the comm. Crixar's using his own people as shields. The revelation changed everything. The Supreme Commander was forcing his loyal troops to hide among the rebels, creating an impossible tactical situation. Any shot risked killing allies. Chen's voice crackled through the command channel. All teams, switch to non-lethal weapons where possible. Focus on the control nodes. The Liberation Front is engaging Crixar's forces throughout the station. The battle for the fortress station devolved into brutal close-quarters combat. Human Marines, trained for adaptability, quickly adjusted their tactics. Stun grenades and electromagnetic pulse weapons replaced lethal force where possible. The Vorthan rebels fought alongside them, their knowledge of the station's layout proving invaluable. Dr. Vasquez, accompanying Chen's command team, worked frantically at a captured terminal. "Commander, I'm into their systems. The mind control network is already in preliminary activation." Crixar's accelerated the timeline. "How long do we have?" 20 minutes, maybe less. If those control nodes aren't destroyed." Chen didn't need her to finish. She opened a channel to all teams. "Priority alert. We have less than 20 minutes before network activation. All teams, expedite mission objectives." In the shipyards, Kim's forces had devastated the Vorthan construction capabilities, but at a cost. 3 human ships burned in space, their crews' sacrifice buying precious time. As reports of the accelerated timeline reached him, Kim made a calculated decision. All ships, break off shipyard assault. Form up for direct attack on the fortress station. We're going to give our people inside the distraction they need. The Ghost Fleet regrouped, racing toward the fortress as its defensive weapons came online. It would be costly, but if it drew attention from the infiltration teams. Inside the station, Wright's squad finally reached the first control node. The chamber resembled a technological cathedral, its walls lined with quantum processors and neural interface arrays. At its center, a massive crystalline structure pulsed with otherworldly energy. "Demo charges now," Wright ordered. His team worked with practiced efficiency, placing explosives at critical points while Liberation Front fighters held the perimeter. Similar scenes played out at the other nodes. Rodriguez's team fought through fanatical defenders, taking heavy casualties before reaching their objective. At the third node, Lieutenant Patel discovered a horrific truth. Dozens of Vorthan civilians hardwired into the control system, their minds serving as living processors. "We can't destroy this node without killing them," she reported. Chen faced an impossible choice: save dozens of innocent lives or potentially condemn billions to mental slavery. "Is there another way?" Vorthak's voice interrupted. Commander, I'm uploading a virus to your systems. If you can introduce it directly into the node's core, it will crash the network without harming those connected. How do we know it'll work? You don't, but it's the only chance those people have. Time ticked away mercilessly. Outside, Kim's fleet engaged the fortress's defenses in a desperate battle. Ships died in brilliant flashes, but their sacrifice wasn't in vain. Internal sensors showed Crixar diverting forces to external defense. With minutes remaining, all three teams reached their final objectives. Wright and Rodriguez's squads detonated their charges simultaneously, the explosions rippling through the station's superstructure. At the third node, Patel initiated the virus upload, praying Vorthak's solution would work. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The mind control network, deprived of two control nodes and infected with the Liberation Front's virus, began cascading failure. Throughout the station, loyal Vorthan forces suddenly found themselves free of Crixar's influence. Many immediately turned on their former master. Chen led the final assault on the command center. Supreme Commander Crixar stood defiant before his throne-like command chair, surrounded by his most fanatical guards. But as the mind control network collapsed, even they began to waver. You've destroyed everything. Crixar raged, his translator barely keeping up with his fury. The Vorthan Empire, our glorious destiny. Your empire was built on slavery and fear, Chen responded, her weapon trained on the Supreme Commander. It's over. Crixar laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Over? You foolish primates understand nothing. The network was just the beginning. I have weapons you can't imagine, armies hidden across the galaxy. The Vorthans will rise again. He reached for a concealed weapon, but Chen was faster. Her shot took him center mass, the stun setting at maximum power. Crixar collapsed, his reign of terror finally ended. As the fortress station's defenses fell silent, something remarkable happened. Across the Nexus cluster, enslaved Vorthans found themselves free for the first time in generations. The Liberation Front broadcast messages of peace, and gradually the fighting ceased. Captain Kim's battered fleet limped toward the fortress, their mission accomplished at a terrible cost. 8 ships lost, hundreds of casualties. But they prevented a catastrophe that could have enslaved the galaxy. In the aftermath, as human medics treated wounded from both sides, Vorthak approached Commander Chen. What happens now? The Confederacy will return, demand justice. Many will want all Vorthans punished for the crimes of our leaders. Chen looked around at the mixed groups of humans and Vorthans working together, former enemies now united by shared sacrifice. Then we'll stand with you. Humanity knows what it's like to be judged by the actions of a few. We'll make sure the galaxy sees the truth. 3 weeks later, when Confederacy forces finally arrived at the Nexus cluster, they found something unprecedented. Human ships standing guard alongside Vorthan vessels, protecting refugee convoys and coordinating humanitarian aid. The Liberation Front, with humanity's backing, had already established a provisional government committed to peace. The Galactic Senate convened emergency sessions, demanding explanations. How dare humanity act unilaterally? Why hadn't they waited for proper authorization? Admiral Webb, representing Earth at the hearings, stood firm. You declared victory while a genocide weapon was being constructed. You celebrated peace while billions faced mental enslavement. Humanity acted because someone had to. The evidence was undeniable. Data from the mind control network, testimony from liberated Vorthans, battle recordings from the human fleet, all painted a clear picture. The Confederacy's premature celebration had nearly cost the galaxy its freedom. In the end, the Senate had no choice but to acknowledge humanity's actions. More importantly, they were forced to recognize the new Vorthan Republic, with its commitment to peace and cooperation. The galaxy's newest members had proven themselves through sacrifice rather than conquest. As human and Vorthan delegations worked together in the rebuilt sectors of the Nexus cluster, Commander Chen reflected on how far they'd come. Humanity hadn't sought this role, the unlikely heroes who finished what others had started. But when the moment came, they'd stepped forward without hesitation. Captain Kim found her on the observation deck of the new Joint Command Station, watching ships from a dozen species work alongside each other. "Any regrets, Commander?" Chen smiled slightly. "None. We did what was necessary. The Confederacy is calling us the closers now, the ones who finished the job. Let them. Better to be known for completing what's right than for leaving things half done." Outside the viewports, the galaxy spun on, forever changed. The war was truly over now, not because mighty armies had fallen, but because humanity had arrived to ensure the job was properly finished. In doing so, they'd earned something more valuable than fear or conquest: respect. And in the depths of space, former enemies worked side by side, building a future where such weapons would never again threaten freedom. The Vorthans had been defeated, yes, but more importantly, they had been redeemed. That perhaps was humanity's greatest victory of all. The stars looked brighter somehow, Chen thought. Or maybe it was just the knowledge that somewhere among them, freedom had won another battle, and humanity had played its part in ensuring it would last. The galaxy had learned an important lesson: when the job needs finishing, humanity delivers.